Okay, good. So thanks everybody for that's going to see this presentation at some future date. This workshop is about how to find the money. And we got Charles with us today. So Charles' whole objective is to do good. But at the end of the day, Charles said, I can't do good without the money.
Gotta have
This workshop focus on, well, how do we get the money? Because I don't care how good your proposal is. If it can't be funded, it's just going to get dust. Okay, let's get started. And this is lesson 7, finding grants. So there are different types of grants. You got your unrestricted grant, and your unrestricted grants are funds that can be used for general support purposes. That is anything you need in your organization. It can go towards the CEO's salary. It can go towards anything that you want as long as it's consistent with your purpose. However, most grants are known as restricted grants. That is, you restricted as to what you can use the money for. So let's look at the different types of restriction. One type is called the program or the project grants. That is, you get that grant to support a specific program, usually with a measurable outcome. We talked about evaluation and all those other things earlier in earlier presentation, but the program and project grant is one that you go for, but it's specific to that particular agreement. So what do I mean? Let's say, for example, you started your program and it's for at-risk youth. And the funders say, yeah, we're going to fund you to do at-risk youth. But yet you start to let out, and at-risk youth is always defined by the federal government, and it's normally related to the poverty level, crime level, and all those other negative indicators in a neighborhood. That's what's called at-risk. But let's say a child from one of your better communities where the crime is low, income is higher income, and you decide to provide that particular service. That's inconsistent with this particular grant because the grant say at-risk youth. Again, if it was unrestricted and someone just gave you some money and they say, look, man, this is for you to do whatever you want as long as it's consistent with your purpose of helping young people. So you see the difference between an unrestricted and restricted?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. And when you go for the grant, and we're going to talk about searching for the grant, one of the things we want to make sure we do is that we go for a grant that fit what we want to do. Okay, the second type of restricted type of funding is known as seed money. And seed money is like for a new experimental or innovative projects or pilot or demonstration program that you want to bring out. And this normally goes to an organization that's been around for a while, but they want to bring on a new program on the pipeline, and they can get funded by seed money. The other thing about seed money is that organizations that are just getting started, they can write a grant and say, look, we're going for money because we want to bring on our executive director or our CEO. And we need 6-month salary for that individual who in turn is going to build the organization to capacity. So that's what seed money would be for, either a new program or when you're just getting started, you can go for seed money. Seed money sometimes is also called capacity money. Then the other type of funding is called capital grants. And capital grants is anything related to bricks and mortar. It can be used to purchase for construction, renovations of physical facilities, land acquisition, or major equipment purchases. Let's say you purchased something that was like, and nonprofits wouldn't do this, but a big company will probably purchase a printer for like $30,000 because it's got all these gadgets and all these other things, and they used to high writing print. For example, they want to print 10,000, 50,000, something like that. And I probably messed that up, but I see you see where I'm going at.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then the other type, the other type is known as an endowment. This is normally to like colleges and universities. Somebody pass away and they leave money. Some nonprofits also get this type of money. An endowment is that you get a large sum of money and you live off the interest that money going to incur over the period of life of that particular endowment. It provides to an organization future security. Endowment funds are invested to provide annual income, usually a percentage of earned. Okay, and then you have what's known as challenge or matching grants. Let's say, for example, your organization was to go for a grant for 100,000, and the organization said, we will give you 80,000, but you have to go and find the remaining 20,000 in order to get the 80,000. Now, as we talked about, that's over 115,000 foundations, corporations, government entities, and others that give funding. That's why this class is so important. And that's why this section of the class is so important, because now we're going to talk about how do we find these 115,000 funders. The other type of grants, and people don't see it as grants, but you can put it as part of your grant. When you write the grant, it's called in-kind support. In-kind support or pro bono work. Let's say, for example, you had volunteers and they donated X number of hours per week, per month. You can always begin to change that into hours. So let's say, for example, you got 10 volunteers and you say the volunteers have committed to 100 hours, and the wages that we use is the federal wages, which is $22 per hour. You multiply that, then you get the total number of hours. And you use that. Let's say, for example, it's a 10 hours, and it's 10 hours, and you got $22 times 22 times 10 is what?
22 times 10.
I can't think. 220?
220.
Yeah, 220. So now you see how to use the formula in order to show it on the grant proposal. And you'll find out quickly that when you volunteers are so important because you can use it. You can say we're going for $150,000 grant, but yet in terms of the volunteers we have, we're going to have 50 volunteers over the years, and that amount over the first year, and that amount is going to amount up to $20,000 in value. That's how you try to mix the particular grant. The other thing you can do in terms of pro bono, let's say, for example, there's a lawyer that gives free time. And he said, I'm going to give you free time because I believe in your organization. I normally get paid $500 an hour. I'm going to give you 100 hours free per year. And then you multiply that 100 times 500. The same thing if you get one of these sophisticated accounting firms. They normally get paid $700 an hour. But they will, because you're a nonprofit, do pro bono for your organization. So what you do is you multiply the number of hours times the amount that they normally will be paid. So as you can see, if you put it together correctly, you're gonna have a pretty good amount of pro bono in-kind support coming into your organization. Okay, continue. Now, there are different types of grants. You have your individual grant, and this is normally the largest source of giving. And its ongoing source as well. You have your family and community foundation. Now, a family foundation means that there's a biological connection between the funder, the foundation, and the people that's getting money. And when I mean that family foundations have a biological connection, like the Obama administration, the Obama Foundation, the Clinton Foundation, they are all family members. Oh, can you think of another family foundation?
The Bush family.
The Bush Foundation, exactly. They have the Donald, well, before they close it down, the Donald Trump Foundation. The Gates Foundation is another one. Bill Gates got a foundation. So as you can see, family foundation is because they're biologically connected. The next type of foundation is called a community foundation. And a community foundation means that they only fund in a geographic area. Like the Hillsborough County Children's Board, they fund only in Hillsborough County. Tampa Bay Foundation, they only fund in Tampa, the Tampa Bay area. Or the Miami-Dade Foundation, only in Miami-Dade. Or the New York Foundation. So I think you see my point. They tend to be community focused.
Geographically locked.
Exactly. The other type of funding is called corporate foundation. Now, one of the advantages is that there's a source of large sum of money that you can get by way of corporate foundation. Now, make sure you pay attention to the advantages and the disadvantages when you're going after the money. Now, corporate foundations are foundations that are given money, not because they're trying to do the right thing, but because they're trying to give a good corporate image. Can you think of any corporate foundation? Any corporate? Can you think of any corporations?
Walmart, Target.
Walmart, they got a foundation. Coca-Cola, they got a foundation. Best Buy, they got a foundation. So corporate foundations are created as from the for-profit side of the table. Every for-profit, most create a corporate foundation where they give money to groups. What's interesting about this is that by law, in order for them to maintain that status as a corporation, as a corporate foundation, they must give up to 5% of their net proceeds to nonprofits that are 501c3.
Wow.
Now, the other type is called federated funds, like the United Way, etc. And then finally, you have what's known as government grants as well. Government grants tend to be the most hardest. They give large sums of money, but they tend to be the hardest. I think we look at some budgets when we was looking at one of the grants, and we look at the budget, and they ask for everything on those federal grants. Okay, let's continue. Now, there is there are different ways that you can search for grants. I have listed here a number of ways, but as you can see, I have highlighted two. The Foundation Center and grants.gov probably are the most extensive. But Grant Station, and then we're going to look at Grant Station today, is also another good source of searching for funds. Now, when you are going for a grant, there are several things that you should take into consideration.
This is a reminder.
Hold on for 1 second.
Drops.
Okay, that was Alice in the background. You know, it always gives me my reminders, right?
Yeah.
I got to really start to program that thing because it always does it when I'm doing it class. Anyway, I got to figure that out. So where did I stop at? So let's talk about how do you increase your chances of getting that grant? How do you increase your competitive edge? Couple things. First, make sure you read the forms and the guidelines. Every time you go for a grant, they're going to have the forms you need to complete as well as the guidelines you need to follow. Call a past grantee. If you, for example, are using the Foundation Center, you can go to the Foundation Center, you can go to Bank of America, for example, you can go to past grants, and you can look at the grantees for, let's say, 2021. And the reason why you want to be able to see if you can contact them to get a feel from them as to what are the lessons learned from them about putting together that grant. They might say to you, don't wait till the last minute. They might say to you, make sure you get this type of support letter. They might say, make sure you include this in your budget. They might give you a wealth of information that you didn't even think about.
Wow.
The second strategy is to talk to the individuals that were the awardee that gave out the grant. When you write a grant, it goes to a select group of people that review it and they decide who gets the grant. So going back to the Foundation Center or some type of search strategy, you put in Bank of America, you put in 2021, and you put in reviewers. And you want to do that to say, well, who was the team of people that reviewed that grant that gave that award? And then you want to see if you can contact them and say, hey, we're going for a grant and we really want to get that grant. Can you share with us some things that we shouldn't do when we submit a grant, you know, and what some things that we should do to make our grant more likely to be funded? And then finally, you can always contact the program officer or program contact person. Every time a grant comes out, and when you go to that grant, at some point it's going to have contact person. Contact that person and ask them, will we going for this particular proposal that y'all have out? I'm gonna run it past you. This is where we're trying to go with this in terms of you, A, B, C, D. And that person might tell you, nah, you might want to take that out and you want to maybe put this in. And yeah, we more favor that. No, we don't favor that. That's what we call inside information. Now, let's go back to what I was saying. Using this 4-step process can increase your competitive edge and increase your chances of getting that grant. Okay, let's continue. Okay, that's it for that. Let me go now to the actual okay, what do you see on your screen?
Grant Station.
Good. Now, my first question to you is, have you completed the TechSoup application?
Yes, sir.
That's how I got this right here. Because every year, well, if you connect to TechSoup, it's $99. You can get it $99, right?
Mhm.
Because they give certain advertising. But if you wait, they also give it for $49 a year. And I always wait for that $49. I might pay for 2 years in advance. So you see, my next date is 05/22/23.
Wow.
Now I'm gonna jump on this to make sure I push it to 24/25. And you're gonna see after we finish this right here why. So let's start with let me make sure I turned on the, okay, good. I want to make sure the recorder is still on. Let's start with how you find your grant makers. We're going to start with United States. We can search in the United States and find out who are the grant makers in the United States. Okay, and let's look at how we can search.
Okay.
We can search by way of independent, family, community, or corporate foundation. We can search by way of corporate giving programs, faith-based grant makers, or any other association with grant makers. Remember we talked about earlier, some faith-based groups go for money because they want to use that money in order to continue their faith. Whereas if you don't want to go to a community or corporate foundation, you want to go to a site that's called faith-based. Okay, now before you start searching, you should check out the preparation section. We're going to talk about that later on. Again, all this information is on Grant Station. And they give you a couple ways as to how you can do your search. One way is to search by geographic area. So for example, you would say, well, I want to search for all funders that give money in the city of Tampa or Hillsborough County. Instead of trying to go out there and find money from 115,000 foundation, you want to be specific as to who's funded. You also want to do it, and again, you can do a national search, you can do a neural search. So you can continue on until you get funders that's going to fund in your geographic area.
Gotcha.
Then step 2 is to narrow your results by selecting more items. So those are some ways that you can look for searching grants. And this right here allows you to narrow your search. Most times you're going to hit it on point. But let's say you run into a situation, you're going for a grant and it comes back 0. Then you want to use these strategies to find out what you need to do to refine it. For example, you might have to, they might say, well, maybe you want to search beyond the Tampa Bay area, you know, and look for funders that's international, for example. Or it might say you might need to narrow your search for youth and to look for at-risk youth. So it's going to give you all that type of information. It's also going to break down the strategies into areas of interest. What do you think they mean by area of interest? Because that's how you can search this particular mechanism.
Stuff that meets like your mission statement.
Well, your mission statement, but area of interest is what you're looking for money in. So if you're looking for money in youth, you're going to put down youth. If you're looking for money in affordable housing, you're going to put down affordable housing. If you're looking for money for economic development, workforce, you see, on and on and on. The next search you want to do is for target population. For example, is it at-risk youth? Is it Black? Are they from the inner city? So you want to narrow it down in terms of your targeted population. Let's look at an example of targeted. No, first let's look at an example of area of interest. your area interest could be art, civic affairs, community development, education. See how it breaks it down?
Yeah.
Now, let's look at your target population. Your target population could be Alaska, Asian, Black, women, girls, seniors, Asians. See how you can break it down? You can
Wow.
break it down further by support, advocacy, award, prizes. You know, sometimes you might want to give some awards and prizes, and you want to get some really good kind of expensive award to your members. So you can go for a grant. This is where you click. Capacity building. Challenge grants. Now, challenge grants we talked earlier about. Challenge grants is when you give 100,000 and they say that you ask for 100,000, but they say they give you 80,000. So they give me a challenge to come up with the remaining. A challenge to come up with the 20,000. Collaborative and coalitions. It goes on and on and on. You see why it's so important that you use a software like this in order to go for funding. It's so much funding out there, but you need to narrow it down to the specific of what you're going for, including grassroots. In-kind, I cannot emphasize the importance of going for in-kind. In-kind, when you say, Bank of America, I want your people to come over from your marketing department to give us some training on marketing, for example. So yeah, you can use that corporate type of stuff to come down and hook you up. Or you can, like a Google, and say we need your people in kind of service to come in and hook us up in terms of how we search and what our appearance is. Never forget that you can go for individuals. A lot of people don't even know they can go for individual grants as well, grants for individuals. For example, you got a person that was homeless and now they are in a good position and they will fund an individual that's going through a crisis. So it goes on and on and on and on. Startup funding. And then you can search in terms of grant maker, community foundation, corporate, givens, and it goes on and on and on. And then finally, by location.
Wow.
Whatever part of the country that you're in. Okay, good. Now, in addition to that, you can also search by way of federal government grants. This is like when you want to search for grants on a federal level. So let's look at, let me put in the key term here. Let me put down low income. Any money that's going towards low income would be here. Notice this list goes on and on and on. But this is an example. But that's only part of the way. Let's say, for example, I want to know how to get money on the state level. And because you're in Florida right now, it's going to tell you all of the different agencies that's giving money.
Oh my God. Make
sure you look for the G. Well, let's go over the different colors. G is for grants, I is for information, L is for loans, if you're trying to do a loan, miscellaneous support, T is for training and technical assistance. So for example, if you're only looking for grants, you go for the green. But if you're interested in technical assistance, you go for the T's. So what do you think of that?
Wow, that's powerful.
Okay, now let's move a little bit away from there and look at some other things. The other thing about this particular piece of software is that you can click on building strategy. For example, you can go to setting grant and program objectives, create your infrastructure, finding the right grant maker, create a plan, creating time. You can see it's an awesome wealth of information that you can go into. Okay. And you're gonna find a lot of information they talk about as what you know already. And that's what's going through our particular class. Because when I put together my classes, I look at not only Grant Station, I look at everybody that's doing anything on Grant, and I combine it all into one to make sure I don't miss anything.
Yes, sir.
That's how you become competitive, because you become, why would I invent the world? I'm just going to search and see what the world looks like, what the world looks like, and I'm going to polish the world up and put it on my own.
That's right.
From sites like this, sites like Foundation Center, government corporation, foundation, all that information brought me to the class that you're taking today on grant writing. And that's why I say people that take my class, they don't even think the same when it comes to grant. Because they know better than them. Now, even not only the strategies, because strategies are very important, writing the proposal. It lets you look at award-winning proposals, letters of inquiry. Remember we talked about letters of inquiries? That's when you get money from somebody. And even you can look at full grants. I always look at full grants, but I look at all those they have. But I always go and look at full grants because I want to always see if there's anything that I should say or shouldn't. And I always find, man, when I look at full grants, I always say, oh man, I would have written this differently. Yeah, always, it's almost always and what have you. And that's when you know you're at that top level. When you can look at a product and say, nah, this should have been here and that should have been there.
Oh my God.
This also gives a section on when you edit and revise your proposal. I like this. This is one of the most important things about this. One of the sessions, because they give online learning, when you pay that fee, that's one, because if you went here without paying the fee, you wouldn't be able to see everything I'm saying, shown. Gotcha. So you click on online learning. In online learning, you can go to previous things. The art of raising funds from local businesses, building your annual grant strategy, the golden key to a successful statement of the need. You can see prepare to win, proposal writing 101.
Oh my God.
And let me see, where do we stop at? Let's go back to that, and you can go to recorded ones as well. For example, these are recorded ones. Strategies and challenges to expect during a capital campaign, essential capital. Are you ready for capital campaign? Some good information that you can get out of this. Again, not as extensive as the Foundation Center, but I think that this grant station will give you a run for your money.
Yes, sir.
Okay, are we finished here? Let me see. I think that's it that I want to talk about in terms of the grant station. So let's come out of here. Again, I mentioned this because you can go to TechSoup, and well, I think they don't have their campaign out for $49. I think they just finished that campaign for $99.
Oh, okay.
But they're going. That's why when you connect to them and to TechSoup, they're always going to give you funders that are coming up. You know, you'll get an email saying, hey, Grant Station has a special sale or something like that. Because
Gotcha.
if you don't and you pay for it on your own, I think you're gonna be paying $600. So you definitely want to wait till that comes up. But you can see how valuable it is.
That's right.
And once you get started, every year it remains $45.
Mm.
Every year it remains $45. As long as you go back and you renew.
They
Like
probably got
I
good
renewed
coverage.
up to 2023.
Mm. Man, I can imagine all the grants that they got for like at risk.
Everything from seniors to youth to water, you name it, animals, you name it, you seen it, anything that you want funding for. Anything that you want funding for. Okay, let me see if I can bring up the next item. Hold on 1 second. And then this is it. Let me know if you see it.
Foundation Center training programs.
Now, we talked earlier about the Foundation Center. That's the second type of search you can do for funding. So I'm just going to give some highlights on that.
Okay.
I'm also going to let you know, and the reason why I'm giving the highlights is because you can go to the main branch of the library to search for grants using the Foundation Center. Let me tell you what's good about the Foundation Center. Hold on, I gotta turn this fan on. It's getting kind of hot. Can you still hear me?
Yes, sir.
Good. Here's what's good about the Foundation Center. Now, in order to get to their, in order to get a subscription to theirs, I think they started probably $1,200, $2,100 a year.
Woo!
It goes up and what have you, right?
Wow.
But when you into big money, for example, going for a grant on Grant Station, you go to fundraising, you put in fundraising, and then you put the cause in for the Foundation Center. And that's the way you can get the Foundation Center.
Okay.
Plus with the Grant Station. I like Grant Station because it's so cheap, meaning that you can jump now and start getting money. But the mother of mother is the Foundation Center.
Foundation Center.
And let me tell you why. Not only does the Foundation Center allows you to go at the money, but they have their software is so sophisticated, they can tell you who gave money last, how much they gave. Because sometimes you might be going after a grant like Grant Station, and they may have an organization that gives money. And you're going for that particular organization, but what you didn't know is that that organization hasn't given money since 2020. Grant Station allows you to find that specific information. It allows you to know who gave money, how much they gave. So it is awesome. And that's only some of the things that Grant Station can do. So let's talk about some approaches on how you search. Remember we talked about earlier, just like Grant Station, with the Foundation Center, you can search by area of interest, geographic reason, and type of support. You can refine the match. Has the grant maker organization? Oh, has the grant? Would you read that?
Has the grant maker funded organizations like mine?
So instead of trying to guess it with this information right here, you can say whether or not it's even worth it trying to go for it.
Wow.
You see the sophistication of this software. Okay, read the second one.
How much does the grant maker give to organizations like mine?
You can get specifically as to how much money I'm really gonna get out the deal. They said they give $400,000, but yet when I do the search, they actually only give like 5,000 per organization. Okay, let's continue. Okay, read the priorities. I mean, 4 primary searches.
Search keywords. Let me see. Nonprofit literature, jobs, RFP.
Oh no, right here. I'm sorry.
Oh, foundation directory. Okay. For primary search options, search grant makers, find funders interested in what you do. Search companies, find companies with grant making programs located in your area. Search grants, find examples of who funded organizations or projects like yours. Search 990s, find additional examples of funded organizations.
So that's so important that they give you these 4 primary ways to search. One of the ways you want to search, and that's the last one, search 990s. When you're going for an organization, search the 990 and say, hey, how much money did they give last year? I understand what the sites say, but the 990, as you know, we follow as nonprofits, right? It's going to tell you how much they really gave and how much brought in. And then, hey, hold on. It's even going to tell you the organization that they funded. That'll give you even more information. Okay, continue with Foundation Online Power Search.
Search by keywords. Search for 4 primary databases and nonprofit literature, jobs, RFPs, news, issue lab reports.
Do you remember what an RFP is?
A request for proposals.
A request for proposal. So you want to do a request for proposal, but you want to know the ones that are currently available. Instead of going at RFP for proposals that was yesterday. Because most times you search request for proposals, it's going to give you all the proposals, even the ones that have been closed. So when you search for that proposal, you put in, for example, proposals that are from May of 2022 to December 31st of 2022. So you can see all the grants and RFPs that are coming up. Okay, let's continue.
Access to Foundation Directory online. Free access on site at Foundation Center Libraries, Cooperating Collections, grantspace.org. Find us. Available via monthly and annual subscriptions.
And they do have those monthly and annual subscriptions, but again, go to any central library in any jurisdiction, in any county, in any city. And Tampa is I think it's on Kennedy, that's the main branch. Yeah, the one on Kennedy is the main branch. But that would be the one that you would go to for the city of Tampa.
Okay.
But they do have good information there. Okay, let's talk some more about the Foundation Center, and we will close out the day's presentation. Okay, give me a second. Let me come out. Yeah, okay, I'll be. Let me know when you see it.
Okay, we have what is this, Ford Foundation?
Good. Let me keep on going to the top. Now,
Search grant making guided tour.
right. So you can see that this is a beast when it comes to that Foundation Center. We're just gonna go through some real quick examples of how to use the Foundation Center. first of all, there's over 92,000 grant makers that's connected to them. Over 92,000.
Ooh.
Now, that's over 115,000 in total, but they only look at 92,000. Grant stations look at the 100,000 like that. But I'm saying, look, man, if you're looking at 20,000, I'm happy. So 92,000 is a lot of searches that's out there. And they talk about how you can start your search. You start clicking the view a document, and this is coming hard if you don't actually see it. That's why I'm gonna send this to you. So when you actually go and we decide to search for grants, and you go down to the library, you would have gone through this whole thing right here because it's gonna give you all the information you need.
Wow.
I like this right here, section right here. I like searching for total assets. I want to know how much money this company really got. Now, so if it's a company, and it's, for example, a company you don't know, not like a Bank of America, not like Walmart, or something like that that's giving funding. And you say, oh, this foundation, I never heard of them before. Let me see, what are their total assets? If their total assets is like $1 million, that's not that much money when you're looking at a national organization. But you can even search to see how much money are they really worth. That's important when you start to go deep down in your search.
Gotcha.
But it gives you information like that. And I'm just gonna slide down here so you can see. You can search by corporation. They give you all the information you need. You can find it by map. You can map every corporation. They got awesome grant charts. Man, these people got some pretty things, man, right?
Ooh.
It's like you got grant stations for the bare minimum. But Foundation Center, all the thrills. It gives you charts and oh man, awesome.
Wow.
Okay, let's continue. Education, if you want to search for that, it gives information on higher education. Now, 90 forms. They update all the time.
Oh my God.
Bam. So, you know what I'm going to ask, like I do with every class. What are 2 things that you learned today?
Well, we were talking about the grant research tools,
Good.
Foundation Center, the grant station, and then the 4 steps of winning competitive grants is, writing the application in the form and the guidelines, call the person, the past grantee, see if you can get some information from them, the past reviewer, get information from them.
Look at your bad self. I just asked you